This is the instant match reaction after the Tottenham Hotspur 0, Arsenal 1 game. Really pleased that I put my Spurs shirt on and my Spurs hat on when I could have probably just told you before the game what would happen. Tottenham would have a lot of the possession, would not really make any clear-cut chances, and Arsenal would score from a corner. And I probably even could have written that it would have been from about 4 or 5 yards out from an unmarked header. And Vicario made to look silly because he doesn't come out to try and claim anything. And it was actually Christian Romero who was bullied a little bit by Gabriel, who got the goal. I'm here with Marlon. Marlon, how are you feeling after that game? Frustrated?
No, I am. And I said if we lost today, I don't trust Ange anymore. Now, right? And I don't, right? I'm going to sit there and say I don't trust him, but I don't want him out.
Right.
There's a difference, yeah? I now know where I'm sitting with Ange and where I'm expecting for the rest of the season, right? Because you can't sit there, right, 2 games at home against Arsenal, right, and not learn from the first game, right? And if we're looking at the corner situation today, the set-piece situation, Saka and Martinelli were taking terrible corners, so we got away with it. And then they take one decent cross and we can't deal with it. We can't deal with it. And it was like pretty similar to what happened at Everton when they took those 3 corners in a row and they put them in dangerous areas.
The first half,
yeah. So you can't sit there and go. It'd be quite interesting to see how he defends himself from this, because this is down. He can't sit there and say set pieces. Defending set pieces is not a problem, right? And I know it's the first one we conceded, but this is just now the catalogue that's going to start opening up for the rest of the season, all right? They have come to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium without Rice and Odegaard and still managed to beat us, right? I know they're going for the title, right? They've sat there and put 11 men behind the ball, right? And we still couldn't cope, right? The Ange ball, right, for me, is meant to be this attacking football, and we're meant to carve teams open and whatnot, but we can't do it.
What do you then... What else could he have done then today? Because basically he played 2 number 10s.
Yep.
He played a sitter. They never scored from open play. So yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Like the fact that we continually concede from set pieces is absolutely true. Yeah. But really, in terms of what more he could have done, basically what we came up against was a team who, like you said, played 11 men behind the ball the same way Everton did, the same way Leicester did, the same way that Newcastle did. But they're better.
Okay.
They're better at it.
So first half, I was happy. I was genuinely happy with the way we defended. The corners, obviously, we hadn't been tested properly with those corners. But you said it, as soon as you saw him come on, the substitutions killed us. Like, Sarr coming on, it suddenly became he didn't have a plan B. He was just trying to stick round, like, what's a square, whatever the saying is, right? Sarr comes in the middle, who's never played that position before, right? And I think he laid
6, basically.
And it's like, what are you doing? What are you trying here, right? Because then it all becomes disjointed. Arsenal suddenly start having the ball. We ain't creating nothing. We're meant to be, look, you can see where the problems are. We're not creating nothing up top.
Yeah.
Try something different. It's, you're 1-0 down. You could do anything now.
Yeah.
The fact that Bergvall, right, for me, who is very, very good on the ball, right, he's not brought him on. He's not even thought of him today. And I thought he probably would have been perfect for a situation like that. Because you're right, Arsenal just set up in this fashion. Yeah. Right? But the problem is, he obviously doesn't trust him enough to throw him in a game like this, which is more concerning because the players that are letting you down from last season are the same players you're bringing on and they're letting you down this season towards the end.
Is there an element that Ange might have got himself... Well, and the club's recruitment strategy might have got Ange in a bit of predicament, which is they've spent a lot of money on players who are not ready to get into the fire yet. You look at it, I just saw a comment that said, Barnaby, stop making excuses. I'm actually not trying to make excuses. I'm trying to kind of allow, with thoughts, Marlon to give his opinion on things. But what I'd say is, it's all well and good, the painful rebuild and buying players who are potential. And I would add, Lucas Bergvall, I completely agree, one of my favourite young players. I love everything I see of him. Archie Gray, obviously, raw, but will be good. Odegaard will be good. Johnson, I still think there's going to be a player there. But how is Ange going to, especially in these big games, wrestle with the fact that the reality is the quality isn't there yet.
You're right.
And then to add to that, there isn't enough kind of leadership and like I talked a lot today, didn't I, about the dark arts, the ability to play the dark arts. Perfect example of the winning goal, right? Do you think, here, I'll ask it as a hypothetical question. It's the other way round. Romero gets the run on Gabriel And do you think Gabriel would go down under those two hands on his back? I think he would, and I think he'd win the free kick.
Yep.
And what we're left with is Romero, knowing that he's felt it, hasn't been clever enough, looking at the ref, and the ref's never going to give it.
Which is quite weird for Romero because, like, the Argentinians...
He would for Argentina.
Yeah, Argentinians are very good at the dark arts. It's best what they're known for.
Yeah.
So it's quite weird to see that Romero's not actually in that situation. Because if that's Porro, let's be honest, Porro goes straight down.
Yeah. Sergeant Stressful, just with a super chat, says, becoming embarrassing. All this possession, stat padding means nothing. The lack of quality in the final third is appalling. We need 2 elite buys.
We do. No, this is like you've hit the nail on the head. He didn't buy enough quality in the summer to improve the first team, right? So Solanke, good signing, played okayish today.
Back to goal, I thought he was excellent today.
But the problem is, you can see where the problem still is. Our front three, our wingers, not our front three, and this includes Son today, right, are not good enough to be as a cohesion. And if you look at some of the good front threes in the country, right, you just look at Saka today. Look how he is. Look how he's the only person. Like Martinelli was awful today for them, right? But you can see the difference. Right, Trossard again wasn't playing in position, but Havertz. But they know each other's game. They work on it. But us, we're like, apart from Kulu and Solanke, it was like 3 individuals up there.
I think Ange Postecoglou is going to come out and say it's small margins, right? And in a game like that, it was small margins. But the reality is, it's a small margin where you know exactly what's going to happen. And we never looked like scoring today, did we? We never looked like scoring.
But what I'd then throw that back to Ange is Leicester, small margins. Didn't get the win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Newcastle, small margins, didn't get the win. Today, small margins. We'll beat Brentford next week. I guarantee now we will beat Brentford because guess what? They're not a top 10 side.
I don't guarantee that.
I guarantee I will sit here and I said because I predict...
I'm worried we're going to lose against Coventry in the week.
Don't worry about it. Coventry's a different kettle of fish. If he loses that, then boy, I don't know what he's going to...
He is in trouble.
He's in trouble. But we're at home. We'll beat Brentford next week, right?
Right.
But then we've got Man United the week after, right? Again, we have to go away to a top 10 side, right? Yeah, Man United are not great, but they'll beat us.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Oliver Kersey with a super chat says, why does it feel like we always play directly into the opponent's game plan? Johnson has no take on ability whatsoever. Odegaard is better. Son, horrible.
So the reason why is because Ange just come out and said, I am not changing my way.
Yeah.
Right? And people are like, nah, he's joking. He's not going to do that. He's going to change depending on the situation in the game. He doesn't change. So which means teams are going, well, I can coach against this, right? Because when you come up against elite managers, right? And I said this when he came down from Celtic. I said, if you go watch Celtic in the Champions League the season, I think it was his second season, the year they had Real Madrid, right?
Yeah.
He come up against, they literally played Real Madrid off the park for 60 minutes.
They did, and then they got
60
done
minutes.
right?
Ancelotti went, all right. I think it was Ancelotti or Zidane. I can't remember who it was. It was one of them just went, all right, bang, bang, bang. Done him.
Yeah.
Because he weren't going to change his way. They're elite managers. This is what you're going to get in the Premier League.
But isn't today a bad example of that? Because actually, what more, like going back to that question before, I think you're kind of down with you do if you're damned if you don't. If he played Pape Matar instead of Kulusevski, people would be saying now he should have played the 210s, right?
No. I think his biggest problem today, and it's going to come down, Johnson was on that pitch for way too long. I know he's the scapegoat, but he was. And to me, it's just like, I don't know. He has to change something. Either put Son up top, change something that's going, because it's just in that second half, right? First half it was okay-ish, right? But as I said, it would die down a little bit. But it died down for everyone. We weren't creating nothing. We weren't on the ball as quick as it was in the first half. We just seemed to run out of energy. Because, when you're trying to climb over a wall, right? And you literally you start huffing and puffing. It's what it felt like.
Fodsax, lovely super chat, thank you, mate. Ange is cocky. He says, Ange is cocky. I don't care what anyone thinks. Act is wearing a bit thin. I'm going to say something here. It was around about this time and for a bit longer that Pochettino was under real pressure at Spurs in his first 18 months. And it took that win at Aston Villa with Harry Kane's deflected set piece.
That was the first 6 months.
It was a bit longer. He had the first season because he had the first season when they beat West Ham away in the first game with Dyer,
and
etc.
And
then it was like the 6 months into the second season. A lot of pressure went on him. I think at this point, I asked Marlon the question earlier, and I'd ask you guys to get in the chat. All right, I'll say to you guys who want Ange out, Levy sacks Ange. where do you go next? I don't know where you go next. Are you going to Iraola, the Bournemouth manager?
No.
Is there anyone you see in the Premier League or in the world at the moment who you think Spurs can get?
Just bring Poch back.
No, because Poch has just taken over the American job.
American contract. It's fine.
I just think they've gone all in on this guy, and they're gonna have to stay with him a bit longer.
You say they've gone all in, yeah.
Well,
but I wouldn't say our transfer strategy in the summer was going all in, because we've been in all-in managers before where we've kind of gone, all right, go and do. But I don't think we have, because there was still, look, for us, where there were certain positions we were still short. Yes, if they didn't buy a striker, it was literally curtains for them. They had to. They had no choice, right? But the fact you went and signed Werner back, Odebear, not being funny, young lad, we needed an elite winger. We all said it. We could see where our problems lie.
I think they thought Richarlison was going to go, and then they were going to spend that on Eze personally, but
right, but it didn't happen. But you have to, like, for me, it depends on, sometimes you have to, if you're going to take the risk, you have to take the risk. And sometimes it's like, you see, like, there was 2 seasons for Arsenal, right? In Arteta's first 2 seasons, Arsenal took the risk with signings. They didn't care who they were. They brought in players. And it was only Aubameyang that really caused the most issue.
In their first 2 seasons, they finished 8th.
Yeah, but if you look at their spending, they literally went out and got him who he wanted. And we were like, how you
Ben White.
Yeah. And like, how are you spending all this money? And like, but they literally went out and got him. Saliba was already there, and there was issues with Saliba.
Yeah, they had him on loan.
Yeah, Gabriel came in. You know, all these players all came in, right? And even like, they've gone and wasted money on Zinchenko and Jesus, right, for a season just to get them to that next step.
That's true.
We're not doing that. We're literally going, oh, maybe ifs and buts. And this is the issue at the moment. Like, Ange, right, for me, could be a very good manager if he had better players. And I think this is what the issue is. I think if he went to a club like Manchester United, who will back you to the hill, I think he'll do well better than Ten Hag.
But I don't think there is anybody. I mean, I've seen in the comments someone saying Thomas Tuchel. I'm sorry, Thomas Tuchel does not just. He's not a Spurs manager for me. We've gone down that road before. And I go back to what I say about Pochettino. Loads of you wanted Pochettino out. And then something happens, and today, I'm sorry to say it today, and I'm not making excuses, like, we did not play great today, but today is not a good example of a day where you're like, oh, the manager has to go because of today. We played a team, I'm sorry, who are better than us, they are better than us, man to man, and equal with us man to man, with 2 of their best players out, and they're very happy to be pragmatic in these games, and they've shown it, but we can't. What we can't say is, oh, we should have gone 11 men behind the ball against them as well, because they didn't open us up.
You got to remember, it's more with the North London derby. It's always going to be there's going to be more emotion to it.
Of course.
But you got to remember, this is on the back of Newcastle game, and it's also on the back of Leicester, right? And then what makes it even worse, our summer friendlies were all crap, apart from the first 2 games, which the youngsters were better than the first team, right? So a lot of people are still thinking about that. And then you're going on to the back end of last year, where the only 2 teams that we beat were the relative teams that got relegated. So I think a lot of people are now looking at it going, where is this going?
I agree. If he stays on the form that we've been on since, the first 10 league games, then frankly, he's getting himself in a bit of a position. But I would just go back to, I do not see anyone at the moment. Like that guy, Iraola, he's doing all right at Bournemouth. But does he look to me like he's got the personality to manage a big club like Spurs at the moment?
Not Iraola.
I don't. And I think
the problem is right now, Spurs need a manager that can work with this board. And at the moment, and has the football to work with this board, that is the happy medium. You need someone who's quite defensively sound, but can work with very good players, right, and have 2 good fullbacks, but someone who can also play attacking football. Because at the present moment, being one way or the other is just not. Look, at the end of the day, Ange finished 5th last year, right? I think what a lot of people are trying to think. So this time last year, if Ange had these results last year, he'd have been given the benefit of the doubt. But I think what the problem is right now is we're a year on. There's expectation now. You expect an improvement,
and he's made it for himself. He said he expects us to be challenging this year.
And look, a lot of people go, what do you want him to say, right? And things like that, right? But then you don't bring out these performances, and you don't lose today by a set piece, right? Because you've got to improve on what you were doing last year. If there's an improvement, people will go, you know what, I still see an improvement. And people will go in the first 3 games, they saw an improvement. But we're now getting in to where we're going to get more and more games now in the next few weeks, and we're going to start seeing, actually, have we really improved?
I think I agree with you, but I would also, just to play devil's advocate, I think a bigger problem we'd have right now, and we have a problem, and a lot of people are very angry, and that's fair enough. We'd have a bigger problem now, though, if we'd conceded a couple of goals from being cut open down the middle from the high line, and actually Arsenal, you know, everyone says, oh, we know how to play against Spurs, just take advantage of that. Arsenal couldn't do that today.
So Arsenal couldn't do that because they didn't have the players.
They didn't have Erdegaard to be able to play the right ball.
But to be fair, when Martinelli gets in, you'd kind of say it was due to the high line. However, they didn't score, right? And you're absolutely spot on, right? And I think there's two ways to beat Spurs, and that's what everyone says. There's two ways to beat Spurs: set pieces or the high line. And it depends on which way you want to go, right? And you'll find that a lot of teams, if they've got pace, they'll try the high line route, right? Because a lot of teams are not great at set pieces. They're very few and far between in the league that are very good at set pieces. But Arsenal are good at set pieces. And I think what's going to be irking a lot of... I'll tell you what, that 3-2 defeat last year is in the back of everyone's mind still. And that's the reason why everyone is peed off that we've lost. If we had been cut open by the high line, I think people would have been like, okay, we get it. You have to sometimes take these risks. But being cut open by a set piece is unacceptable because you want an improvement on that.
And I agree with that mainly because I think Ange has made a rod for his own back by saying, you know, I don't care. I don't think set piece coaches work. And look, fine, but don't concede from set pieces. That's as simple as that. And whereas the flip is, now we've had to see it 2 seasons in a row, they've got some stupid fucking nerd on the fucking sideline jumping about like he's a fucking genius just because he's probably... you know, gone to a Swedish university or something, or some Scandinavian university. And it's like, Ange just made a rod for his back by saying, I don't want to do this. Get your own nerd, Ange, and get him doing some work.
This is the problem.
And I think, you won't embarrass yourself. I just think Ange has embarrassed himself by saying that. He didn't need to say it.
So I think the thing that really worried me when Ange did come in, to be honest, was he doesn't bring his own coaching team in. So it means that he's learning on the job with the coaches, which I find really odd. I don't know why I find it odd, but I found it really odd at the time, and I still find it odd now that he doesn't. Okay, he did want to bring in the assistant from Celtic with him, which was the first time he's ever done that. And I think in situations like this, there's a reason why you get a team together. If it's good enough for Alex Ferguson, if it's good enough for Klopp, if it's good enough for Guardiola, and it's good enough for other managers, you need to have your own team behind you that you can trust, that you've worked with for years, because what you keep doing when you keep going to these clubs by yourself and you're working with their coaches, especially ours are not good enough, never have been. Right, you have to bring in elite coaches if you want to coach at the elite level.
Just want to ask you one more question before we go, because there's a lot of people in the comments saying Vicario needs to take a lot of blame here. I think he's an excellent shot stopper. He's not a brilliant distributor of the ball, I don't think. He is a little bit like he plays the brave balls, but he doesn't really want to. And he doesn't command his 6-yard box, and that is problematic for us. Is there a problem with Vicario in the medium term?
I did say in the summer that I would love to see another goalkeeper come in. Weren't sure whether I wanted it to be a first team goalkeeper, or if I wanted it to be a young backup that's going to be, because I don't think, look, for me, Austin is never going to be good enough to play in the Premier League, right? Gunter, I think was actually really good, but he's way too young, right? And Whiteman, I don't think is going to be good enough to play in the Premier League, right? So if Vicario actually got injured, I think we're quite stuck as well.
Agreed.
So I did say that we probably are going to need another goalkeeper, either to take Vicario's place in the long term, or someone to take his place now, because I think the corner situation isn't helped by him as well. So it's one of them. He's a great shot stopper. He loves the club, like you said, but his weaknesses are being exploited more and more often than not, and we can't. Look, if we're going to play Ange ball, unfortunately, he's like Pep did. He couldn't play with Claudio Bravo, and had to go and bring Joe Hart, and had to go bring in another goalkeeper. And sometimes you have to make these, no matter how much you like a goalkeeper, you have to make these sacrifices.
Okay, I'm going to end on a little bit of positivity from Andrew Dean. Thank you, Andrew, and apologies if I've pronounced your surname wrong. Klopp, Arteta, and Pep needed a few years to get the team playing right and well. We've got to let Ange ride through this style. Tough patch. #patient. Just ending on that, because I know it's a difficult day, and there are going to be more difficult days ahead. I'm afraid we got beaten by a better, stronger, more streetwise team today. and it's upsetting, but I do think we're going to need to be a bit more patient. I'm very nervous about Coventry away now in the week, and like you agree, Marlon, like if he loses that, he's in big trouble. But
I don't think he will lose that, personally. But this is the problem, right? Like if this was Poch's Tottenham and we were going into Coventry on the Wednesday, we would just be worried about what team Poch was going to put out. If he put out his first team, we'd be sitting there going, oh, yeah, we're going to win this. But we're sitting there now going Coventry on a Wednesday, and we're like, we don't even trust our first team to go there and beat them at the moment. That's how bad things have got. And we shouldn't be like that. We're meant to be one of this top 6 side, right? We need to start acting like it. And I believe at the moment, yes, we could be a few years behind Arsenal, but at the end of the day, Ange might be early on in this project, but us fans are not.
No, I understand that.
Right, and this is the frustrating thing, right? And this is why I'm not Ange out. I'm not Ange out because I don't think there is anyone out there right now that can take us forward. Yeah. Right? My problem is I'm going to critique him as much as I can because for me, I want Ange to be better. I don't want him conceding from set pieces. Yeah. I don't want it. And that's the issue that I've got at the moment. That a lot of people look at some of the comments I've made in this match reaction and gone, he's very. No, I'm not Ange out. I just don't trust him at the moment, and that it's his words why I don't trust, right? And players have they're letting him down, and the Werner signing, unfortunately, was the catalogue that that was the start of things in the summer, and it hasn't got any better. And this game is more emotional, right? No matter who it is, no matter what time of the season, it's the most emotional game we could have had today, and it hasn't done him any favours by conceding a set piece.
I agree. Marlon from Spurs Kings TV, thank you for being on that instant match reaction. Guys, make sure you click on Spurs Kings TV in the title and give them a subscribe for daily Spurs content. My handle is @BarnabySlater_ in the title. Give me a subscribe as well, and make sure you subscribe to We Are Tottenham TV. We'll be back with a post-match fan show in about 10-15 minutes time. Give us a call. The link is in the chat and the community box, and we'll talk to you. And I imagine there'll be some pretty frustrated Spurs fans, but let's try and remain patient. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.